Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As-salatu was-salamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. So we are continuing with Surah Al-Baqarah and we reached up to the section 216, I believe we mentioned. We reached up to 216. So as you remember, Surah Al-Baqarah now is going through the Abwab al-Bir from Ayat al-Bir, Ayah 177, taking each aspect of that, and now it is elaborating on those Abwab al-Bir, yeah? I mentioned last time, maybe a few weeks ago, that Ayat al-Bir, you can relate Ayat al-Bir, you can see a correspondence between Ayat al-Bir and Surah Al-Asr. Okay, you can see a correspondence between Ayat al-Bir and Surah Al-Asr. So if we, for example, maybe not here, but we mentioned the Abwab al-Bir previously somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. No, here. I don't think we will see it here. Here. You see, you can see the correspondence between Ayat al-Bir and Surah Al-Asr, that Iman has been elaborated in Ayat al-Bir. Islam has been elaborated, Mu'amalat, which comes under Islam. Then Tawasul bil-Haq has been mentioned, has not been mentioned explicitly in Ayat al-Bir, but it is implied, because Sabr has been then mentioned. And a part of Sabr is Jihad and Qital. So hopefully we appreciate then that another way of seeing Surah Al-Baqarah, in fact the whole Qur'an, another way of seeing the whole Qur'an is the Tafseer of Surah Al-Asr. Okay? Did you follow that? The whole Qur'an is the Tafseer of Surah Al-Asr, you could say. Just like you can say the whole Qur'an is then the elaboration of Surah Al-Fatiha's dua, Ihdina as-Sirat al-Mustaqim. So the Sirat al-Mustaqim is what? To have Iman, to do good deeds, to enjoin good, the Haqq, mutually enjoin good to each other, mutually enjoin patience, perseverance, resilience to each other. This is essentially the guidance that Allah Ta'ala is giving us. This is the guidance. This is Suratul Ladina Anamta Alayhim. So we are currently looking at in Surah Al-Baqarah, as you hopefully remember from the overview of the surah, the central theme of this surah is what? Who can tell us? What is the central theme of Surah Al-Baqarah? What is it?
The chain of responsibility to convey the message.
Very good, excellent. The transfer of responsibility to convey the message, yeah, from the Bani Israel to the Ummah of Rasulullah alayhi salatu wassalam. So this is essentially giving the believers the vision and the objective, the maqsad behind now they're establishing themselves as a society, as an ummah, is shahadat al-nas. You have to bear witness that you have conveyed the message. Yeah? To convey the message, you need to be the message. So you have to have Iman. Surah Al-Baqarah goes through Iman in Allah. It goes through Iman bil Akhirah. It goes through Iman bil Risala. Iman billah, it mentions, for example, it mentions in the beginning, U'budu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum. Yes? It mentions Ayatul Kursi, Allah's Asma wa Sifat, Tawheed, Rabubiyyah. Before that in Surah Al-Fatiha, Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in, Tawheed of Uluhiyyah. Akhirah, Iman bil Akhirah. In Surah Al-Baqarah was mentioned about Iman bil Akhirah right in the beginning. About the Akhirah was mentioned right at the beginning. وَبِالْآخِرَةِ هُمْ يُوقِنُونَ. They have yaqeen in the hereafter, not just Iman. Then in Surah Al-Baqarah you will find Iman bil Akhirah. Allah has mentioned His ability to resurrect, to bring the dead back to life. For example, the calf was slaughtered by Bani Israel in order to solve the case of a murderer, to find who is the murderer. Yes? To find who is the murderer. So slaughtering of the calf brought the dead person back to life. Another example in Surah Al-Baqarah of Uzair alayhi salam and the donkey. Another, Ibrahim alayhi salam, he asks, Kayfa tuhyi al-mawta? How do you recreate, resurrect the dead? Allah Ta'ala shows him by telling him to slaughter the birds and they come back alive. Yeah? Okay? You see, you following this surah, beautiful surah, you see Iman elaborated, Iman billah, bil akhirah. And the whole surah is Iman bil risala. From the beginning to the end. Bil risala. Aman ar-rasulu bima unzila ilayhi min rabbihim. From the beginning, Alif Lam Mim dhalika al-kitabu la rayba fihi hudan lil muttaqin alladhina yu'minuna bima unzila ilayka wa ma unzila min qablik. Iman bil risala. So Iman has been elaborated in this surah to give us a strong, firm foundation. To give us a strong, firm foundation regarding Iman. Then Islam. Udkhulu fi silmi kaffa wa la tattabi'u khutuwati shaitan. Enter into Allah's complete submission fully together. How? Have the same vision, to submit to Allah and to call to Allah. Islam. How? Pray to Allah. How? Fast. How? Hajj. How? Zakat. And then halal, haram. What is halal, what is haram? Islam. Submit to Allah's will. Tawasaw bil haqq. Invite, this whole surah inviting Bani Israel back to the message of Musa and Isa alayhi salatu wasalam, and the continuity of that is Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Tawasaw bil sabr, Allah Ta'ala mentions you have to do infaq, you have to do jihad, you have to do qital. Wa huwa kurhun lakum. You may not like it, but it is better for you. Yeah? You see how it all fits together now, surah. When you appreciate Quran like this, then inshallah ta'ala, it becomes much easier to understand the ayat in the context of the ayat of the surah. So we are now looking at, after that brief introduction or recap of the Surah Al-Baqarah, so we were looking at qital. We mentioned last lesson, qital. And qital in the context of the Ashhurul Hurum, the 4 months, sacred months. And before in the surah already it has been mentioned, what should we do if we are attacked in the Masjid al-Haram, or if we are attacked in the 4 months, sacred months, what should we do? Allah Ta'ala is saying, you will fight to retaliate. If they fight, then you will fight in these months, but you will not initiate the fight in these months, because these are the months where the the fighting, previously it was traditionally forbidden, agreed upon by the Arabians, and now Allah Ta'ala, He is sanctioning it. Yes, you don't fight. But if they fight, you will fight them. Yeah? So they're asking about this and the fighting in the sacred months. So we've said last time, yas'alunaka, yas'alunaka, yas'alunaka is mentioned here 6 times in this surah. So yas'alunaka means they are asking, the Sahaba are asking, because these are matters in which they need guidance. Other opinion is they are not asking, but the questions are arising, and Allah knows the questions in their minds and heart. Allah is responding even without them asking, because their intention is Atiullah wa Atiur Rasul. So last time we mentioned this very famous ayah that you may not like something, but it is better for you, and you may dislike something, but it is you may love something and it is bad for you, and you may dislike something, but it is actually beneficial to you. And we every human being in this life, in this world, experiences this phenomenon. You have to do things that you dislike to achieve what you want. Yeah? And you have to avoid the things you like and love to achieve the thing that you want. So you have to give up sugar in your diet if you want to be healthy. Yeah, or you have to reduce your intake of fatty food, which are tasty. Fatty food is tasty. Sugary food, lovely. Donut, donut kebab, nice. Coca-Cola, chilled Coca-Cola from the fridge. Nice. And everybody's thinking, oh, okay. But you have to give those temptations up if you want to be healthy. They say healthy, wealthy, and wise. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. So you have to do this. Look at these people who want to live a very, in inverted commas, a very good life, vegan life. So they will stay away from the things that they may like. So now the whole supermarket is full of the burgers and the things that look like meat product, but they're not. Yeah? They're doing jihad. They want to, but they don't. Eat, but they don't. Allah Ta'ala is saying, then you believers, I give you a very simple example. Yeah. So the whole dunya was against the niqab, even the Muslims. And now the whole dunya is for the niqab. Must wear face mask, must wear face mask. Why? For your safety. When Allah Ta'ala says wear it, we ask 101 questions. But when the government says, oh, yes, sami'na wa ata'na, we listen and obey. Because we think they know better, Na'udhu billah than Allah. Khair, anyway, I think you get the point, yeah? So Allah Ta'ala is saying, you don't know, I know. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamoon. Allah knows. Our knowledge compared to Allah's knowledge is nothing. This is the whole. If we remember this, we would be very, very different human beings. If we remember this reality that we know nothing compared to Allah, not something, we know nothing compared to Allah. Zero. Then we would not ask why Allah Ta'ala made this halal or haram. So you 6 foot, 5 foot, 7 foot person with the brain which weighs a few kilograms, if that, you are competing with Allah, the creator of the heavens and the earth. You see this absolute mismatch, isn't it? So you want to judge Allah. Why He didn't do this, why He didn't make things like that, why didn't He do this, why He could have done this. You are teaching Allah. You know more than Allah. Allah Ta'ala mentions this in Qur'an. Antum a'lamu amillah. Who did they talk to? The Ahlul Kitab? You are teaching Allah. Antum a'lamu amillah. Do you know more than Allah? Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran. You want to teach him? You invent things, iftara, and then you say, no, this is right. You say you are teaching Allah. So brothers and sisters, we have to obey Allah. Muslim is the one like Ibrahim alayhi salam, aslamtu li rabbi. That's it. I submit my mind, my heart, my soul, my head, my toe, everything to Allah. And in my sujood, I bear witness to this. I practically demonstrate my submission. I submit my mind, my brain, my sense. It is a contradiction that you submit your brain in sajda to Allah, but then you ask Allah Ta'ala why you did this, thinking your brain is better. Huh? So this is the problem we face, unfortunately, with the rational material mindset. This is the biggest fitna and fasad of today. In the name of freedom and liberation and free thinking and zukhruful qawl, nice pretty words, buzzwords. Anyway, Allah Ta'ala, He is now telling us about qital. Qital is needed. What is the object of qital? Likalimatillahi hiya al-ulya. Very good. To make Allah's word the highest. And and when you make Allah's word the highest, you establish justice, adl, qist, equity. Everyone gets their full due right. So you establish the right for everybody. And when we don't establish Allah's rule as the rule, then we are in fasad and fitna and fasad, hardship, difficulty, upheaval. What are the names for fasad? Other English terms for fasad? Mischief, corruption. Very good. Anything else? Fasad. Think of the words. Fasad fil ard, yes. Yes, that will lead to fighting. Did you watch the documentary Extinction? This is your homework. Fasad fil ard. I think 6 categories of fasad fil ard in that documentary. Climate change, one of them, extinction of the species, another, extinction of the animals, the insects, the other. I think, I can't remember now, 5 or 6.
Pandemic.
You scared me, Jazakallah khair. Yes, pandemic. Yeah. See, this pandemic, Boris Johnson today, he's given his khutbah just a few moments ago. So he is saying we will fight the pandemic. Na'udhu billah. We will crush it. Squash. How can you squash it? You can't even see it. What are you squashing? Yes. Pandemic. Fasad fil ard. Because we don't follow Allah's law as a human race. It's a jigsaw. You know, jigsaw. They say this, they mention, not what I'm saying, but they mention this word jigsaw in this Extinction documentary. They say this, the jigsaw. The question is how jigsaw is designed to fit perfectly, yes? Which means this dunya is a jigsaw, yes, of course. Allah created it like that. So the way to put the jigsaw back together is to obey Allah Ta'ala. Because He is the one who knows. He is the creator. He knows which piece fits where in the right proportion, in the right way, in the right manner. So qital, the believers have been told, now you have to do qital to eliminate zulm, injustice, Okay? But they're asking now in the Shahrul Haram, the months that are prohibited, what do we do? Because what happened is that some Sahaba, they came across some mushrikeen on the 29th of the month before Rajab. Jamad al-Ukhra, the last 29th. And they had a little skirmish, and in that one mushrik, he died. But this was the 29th, and they didn't know if the next day is the 1st of Rajab or not. So he died just as it wasn't intended, they didn't go to fight as such. So the mushrikeen, and of course the greatest people, the munafiqeen, from the people of the book and others, they made a big propaganda about this now. Oh, these people, they don't respect the Ashhurul Hurum, the months that are sacred. But these mushrikeen, they had played games with the Ashhurul Hurum, called Nasi, in Surah Tawbah, I think. That they changed the months according to suit their desire, to suit their benefit. They would change the months here, there. They don't see that, but they see this, that you have done this. So in response to that, the Sahaba are now asking, this is first they're asking that, are these Ashhurul Hurum still valid in our Sharia? Number one. Other question is what to do if a fight happens in this month, what do we do? Yeah. So يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الشَّهْرِ الْحَرَامِ قِتَالٍ فِيهِ. They ask you about fighting in the sacred months. قُلْ قِتَالٌ فِيهِ كَبِيرٌ. Say, tell them that fighting in this is a big sin. Kabir. Big sin to fight. Especially in these months. But there is something worse than that. There is something worse than that. وَصَدٌّ عَنْ سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, number one. وَكُفْرٌ بِهِ, number two. وَالْمَسْجِدِ الْحَرَامِ, number three. وَإِخْرَاجُ أَهْلِهِ مِنْهُ. Four things. أَكْبَرُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ. Fighting, killing in these sacred months is kabir, big. Akbar means even greater. Yeah? Greater sin is to stop people from the path of Allah, number one. Saddun means to stop yourself and others. And to disbelieve in Allah, and the essence of disbelief is ingratitude to Allah. Remember that. Yeah? The essence of kufr is ingratitude to Allah by not acknowledging Him, by not respecting Him, by not obeying Him, by not thanking Him. Wal Masjid al-Haram, and you stop others from worshipping Allah the way they should. He should be worshipped in Masjid al-Haram. You have the opposite, you have the idols. And not only that, إِخْرَاجُ أَهْلِهِ, the people who live there, أهله, the people who live there in Mecca, and the people who have the right to live there because they worship Allah as He should be worshipped. You understand that? Ahli. People who live there, residents, and those who deserve to live there. Like in Palestine and Jerusalem, all these places, Ahlihi are the people who believe in Allah, worship Him as He wants to be worshipped, not the people who say we are the people who deserve to live here. So you expel these people. So what have you, essentially what have you done? You have done dhulm on every level. You have stopped people from worshipping Allah. And to not worship Allah is the greatest injustice. Inna shirka la dhulmun azim. You have stopped people from believing, you have disbelieved. This is the greatest ingratitude. And you have stopped people from worshipping Allah in Masjid al-Haram, which was built just for this. Ibrahim a.s. built it, the Kaaba, for this. and you have expelled also the people who have the right to live here and worship Allah as Allah has given them right. You have violated every right under the sun. You are the rights violators. This is greater than the killing. You see, just killing, you make this into everything. You forget the bigger picture. You don't see the cause behind the killing. You see this? وَالْفِتْنَةُ أَكْبَرُ مِنَ الْقَتْلِ. Fitna that you have caused by stopping the true believers from believing and worshipping Allah, and you persecute them, and you stop them, and you make the life difficult for them, you are putting them through the fire. Fitna means to put somebody through the hardship, like you put something through the fire, to make it that difficult. You have caused this fitna, difficulty for the true believers. This is worse in the sight of Allah than the fighting that you are screaming and shouting about. And today, absolutely the same situation. You have to see Qur'an and see what's happening today. So all of these so-called human rights groups, they are against the capital punishment. Especially the Muslim countries, they're against their capital punishment. So they said this is killing people, this is not the right thing to do. But they don't see the sin and the evil in their own places. They point the finger to the women's rights in Islam and Muslims, and they don't see the domestic abuse that the women they suffer at the hands of their partners when they are watching their football matches. You see that? So, Allah Ta'ala is saying this fitna is worse. So Allah Ta'ala is telling us which thing is bigger in sin than others. So you cannot yourself determine this. This is the message here. We cannot democratically determine the punishment for something independent of Allah, because we don't have the knowledge. He knows we don't. We would do it within the framework of the Sharia. So this would be ijtihad and qiyas. And then Allah Ta'ala is telling them, you don't want to fight the believers, the disbelievers. We mentioned last time why they didn't want to fight. Why the Muslims didn't want to fight. They were not scared really, but yeah, there is a natural tendency not to want to fight for the fear of death, yeah. But what were the main reasons?
It didn't have any swords.
Okay, no, they were because this naturally you don't like to kill, yeah. And the other reason was that because the opposition were from their own kith and kin family. Many people had become Muslim, but their families were not, so they didn't want to fight. Okay. So Allah Ta'ala is saying, وَلَا يَزَالُونَ يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ. You don't want to fight, but they, the mushrikeen, the enemies, they will not stop, but they will want to keep fighting you. يُقَاتِلُونَكُمْ حَتَّى. They will keep fighting حَتَّى يَرُدُّوكُمْ عَنْ دِينِكُمْ إِنِ اسْتَطَاعُوا. They will keep fighting you until they have caused you to leave your deen to the best of their abilities. This is the whole objective. This is the whole objective of these people. They want to stop the believers and persecute them until they become disbelievers. Allah Ta'ala, He mentions لن ترضى عنك اليهود والنصارى ولن ترضى عنك اليهود ولا النصارى حتى تتبع
ولن ترضى عنك اليهود ولا النصارى حتى تتبع ملتهم.
The Yahud and Nasara never until the last day will be happy with you until you follow their deen. Okay? Never. Allah Ta'ala mentioned lan, never. Allah Ta'ala is saying they will not stop fighting you until they have made you their own people. You believe in what they believe in. It doesn't matter just if it's belief in a religious belief, or it can mean other ideologies. Yeah? You have to be humanist, you have to be Democrat, you have to be socialist, you have to be capitalist. All of these, they come under this umbrella. And then Allah Ta'ala mentions, وَمَنْ يَرْتَدِدْ مِنْكُمْ عَنْ دِينِهِ فَيَمُتْ. If any one of you turns away from this deen, Islam, and you die as a disbeliever, فَأُولَٰئِكَ حَبِطَتْ أَعْمَالُهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. Then all your deeds that you did as a believer, they will all be useless. Habt is a tree. Habt means, refers to the tree which has a fruit-bearing tree, but a storm comes and all the fruit is wasted. Gone. Finish. As if it never had any fruit. Habt. So your deeds would be fruitless in the dunya and in the akhirah. So what does that mean in the dunya? It means that the benefits that you had as a believer would be withdrawn from you if you disbelieve. So the benefit of the believer is, for example, in the dunya, that if somebody that you would inherit from dies, if you're a believer, you inherit it, yeah? But if you're a disbeliever, you will not inherit it. Is it clear? Or no? Not clear? So a person becomes Muslim, he's Muslim, and his parents are Muslim. But the son becomes non-Muslim. And the parents, when they pass away, he would have had a right to inherit their money, yeah? If he's Muslim. But if he's not Muslim, he doesn't have any right to inherit now, because he's a disbeliever. Yes? Clear? He does not have the right to be prayed upon janazah in the dunya, because he's a disbeliever. Finish. Yeah. Clear, isn't it? Let me give you examples of what does it mean, what he would lose in the dunya. And then after that, he would also, of course, the main loss is in the hereafter. The main loss is the hereafter. But Allah Ta'ala mentions dunya because dunya is close, we can experience it straight away. And in the akhirah, he would waste every deed that he did. So he would have no reward. So that's one loss. The other loss is the person would be destined for Jahannam, khalidina fiha, forever, eternity, because he died as disbeliever. So that's why we should ask Allah Ta'ala, Ya Allah Ta'ala, give us the death upon Islam. Give us a life of Iman and the death of Islam. Ameen. Because we can live a whole life obedience, as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ mentions, and there's a handspan between the person and Jannah, but then the person does the acts of the people of Jahannam and ends in there, A'udhu Billahi min dhalik, and vice versa. So we should be very, very careful about how would I meet Allah, how will I die? So I die in Islam. Submission to Allah. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Allah Ta'ala have warned us, reminded us, and in the khutbah every Friday we are reminded of this fact. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Beware, don't die, but in submission to Allah. وَأُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ. These would be the people of Jahannam, فِيهِمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ, forever. And compared to that, the true believers who remain believers in hardship, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. They remain with istiqamah, and they faced the hardships of the mushrikeen who were stopping them, persecuting them, fitna, fasad, and qital. وَالَّذِينَ هَاجَرُوا. And they did hijrah for Allah from Makkah to Medina, because these muhajirin came from Makkah to Medina. And they gave everything for Allah and His Rasul. فَهِجْرَةُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Hijrah is to leave Allah's displeasure and go towards Allah's pleasure. This is hijrah. So anybody can do hijrah. Anytime, all the time. You leave what Allah is displeased with and you do what Allah is pleased with. This hijrah, linguistically. Hajaru wa jahadu fi sabilillah. And they fought against the enemy for the way of Allah, in the way of Allah, for the cause of Allah, for la ilaha illallah, li kalimatillahi al-ulya. They fought, they made jihad. Jihad bil mal, jihad bil sayf, jihad bil anfus, all of the jihads they made. Ulaika yarjuna rahmatullah. These people have the right to expect Allah's mercy. Ameen. Allah make us from these people. Wallahu Ghafur Rahim. And remember, Allah Ta'ala, He is all forgiving, all merciful. You should expect and ask and hope and want and feel, yes, Allah will be merciful. Allah is merciful. Innaka afuun tuhibbul afwa fa'fu anni ya kareem. So contrast between the disbeliever who dies as disbeliever, believer who becomes a disbeliever and dies, and the believer who remains and then dies as believer. That's the difference. The next ayah is talking about some ahkam of Sharia within the context of Islam. Submission, yeah? So again, you have to root this back to Surah Al-Asr or Ayat Al-Bir. Yas'alunaka, they ask another question. They want Allah's guidance. They ask the Prophet ﷺ regarding the two matters that were prevalent, not only prevalent socially, culturally, but also they are addictive. Yeah? So there are many lessons in this addiction. There's an article in the Guardian today, Guardian newspaper, on screen time addiction. Screen time addiction. People are addicted to their screens. So the article, I haven't read it, I just read the headline. The article said how to wean your children off this addiction, just like you would wean a druggie off the drugs, or an alcoholic of alcohol, or the smoker of smoking, etc. So they ask you about khamr and maisir. Khamr is that which covers. Khimar is the cloth, the headscarf that covers the head. Khimar. بِخُمُرِهِنَّ. Allah Ta'ala mentioned in Surah Al-Ahzab, and maybe Surah Nur, and related. Khumr. Khamr is that which covers the head, intoxicates the head, the mind, the senses. Wal maisir, and this is the gambling. They're asking about these two evils, and today, if you listen to the Prime Minister, he is talking about closing the gambling places, the bars, the restaurants, and alcohol. And we say, Subhanallah, Allah Ta'ala, He's guiding us, so we don't listen. We need a pandemic to force us to do what Allah wants us to do. If we do it by obeying Allah, we get reward in the dunya because we live a peaceful, happy life, and in the akhirah we get reward. But if we do it karhan, yeah, we are forced to do it without belief, we don't like it here and we have nothing in the hereafter. So they ask about this. Allah Ta'ala, He tells them, قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. Tell them that the sin in this is great. However, there is some benefit for people in this as well, apparent benefit. So this, the khamr and maisr, you know that in the Qur'an, this has been gradually, because this is addictive, it was gradually weaned off. The people were weaned off this gradually. Yeah? So it is mentioned here that there is some benefit and there's some harm. Another part of the Quran mentions وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَأَنْتُمْ سُكَارَى. Do not go near prayer until, if you are intoxicated, until you know what you are saying. So the Sahaba once, after they drank, because it was halal then, until a specific time in Medina, they drank alcohol. It was the custom after food, and they stood up to pray. And one of the Sahabi, he recited Qul Ya al Kafirun, and he made a mistake because he was drunk. So they were very disturbed that we have misread Quran. Allah Ta'ala says, don't go near Salah when you are in this state. So now they had to think, all right, we can't drink from this time before prayer, slowly. Yeah? So first, there's benefit, but there's harm. But the harm is greater. Then, don't go near Salah. If you're going to pray 5 times, now you have to think. And then after that, Allah Ta'ala, He revealed that khamr wal maisar wal ansab min rijzum min amali shaitan fajtanibu. These are the works of shaitan, evil. This is filth. You need to now keep away from it. Stop. Gradual, yeah. And in the US, in this previous century, they passed the legislation to ban the drinking and the manufacturing of alcohol in the US. And then what happened? Because the people, there was no tarbiyah, there's no yaqeen, there's no iman, there's no nothing. They just do it for pleasure, that's it. There's no world view of akhirah. So when they did that, the people started to sell and produce illegally. Because you can't stop the addiction like that. And then they gave in, the government gave in, because this was causing more damage. It was absolutely going the opposite way. But with the belief in Islam, Allah Ta'ala gradually, within a few years in Medina, when the hukum came, fajtanibu, stay away, there are reports that Sahaba were coming back from a business trip with their caravans full of money and goods, because they had dealt with alcohol maybe selling or buying or whatever, yeah. And as soon as they heard this, they asked the Prophet ﷺ, we don't want this money anymore. Because this is from that means, that which is forbidden now. And they immediately gave it up. And when the Sahaba heard this, that Allah Ta'ala Rasul has said, Allah has said, do not drink, they were drinking. The hadith mentioned the Sahaba were drinking, and in the middle of the drinking, they would spit out the drink. They spat out the drink and they broke all their containers. And the streets of Medina would visibly be seen that alcohol is flowing through it, because they were living for Allah and His Messenger. Yeah? You see this? So the addiction is there. People get addicted, but the cure is Iman, Islam, Qur'an, Akhirah. And Allah Ta'ala taught us how to go through this. That's why we shouldn't become addicted to anything of the dunya, because this is not good for us. So there are benefits and harms. So people then mentioned in the tafsir that there are some benefits of alcohol, yeah, and they mention it, but I don't need to repeat any of it. Even today people will say there's benefit in it, but the harm is greater than the benefit. Same with the Masood, what they used to do, they used to gamble, a group of people gamble and say, if you lose, you lose, whoever loses would pay for the whole camel. And you pay for the camel, and then the other people, according to their share of what they won, they would give it all in charity. So apparently this is good, isn't it? You see the lottery money everywhere in this country. Have you seen it? What are you looking at? You go to the library sometime, or you go to a park, or you go to a public place, museum, and you will see that it would say, this has been paid by the lottery fund. Have you seen this? Yes? This is Masood. Looks like a very nice charity, benefiting, just like you were doing. Okay? So there's benefit in it, apparently. Other benefit is you can become rich overnight. Yeah? Million jackpot. All my dreams have come true. Yeah? But when you follow the life afterwards, you see the real picture of the effects of this money. But the problem with gambling, number one, it takes away the natural instinct of, in their words, the survival of the fittest. It contradicts your own aqidah of survival of the fittest. But the gambler is not fit. He's a completely lazy person. Chance. I will take a chance and I don't have to work. There's no survival instinct here. Finished. Contradiction. You contradict your own aqidah. Munafiq you are in your own aqidah. لِمَ تَقُولُونَ مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. It takes a person who has a lot of money, gambles it, and becomes bankrupt overnight. And this affects him or her and the family and the society. This is a problem. Yeah? And others, many others. And unfortunately, the gambling has risen so much in this country now. The high street that had one gambling shop has 10 now. If you see that, unfortunately. Regarding the khamr, the alcohol, people ask many funny questions about alcohol. Let's read one hadith, just one hadith regarding alcohol. This is related by Nisa'i and Jami' Tirmidhi, in which Anas radiallahu anhu, he narrated that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he cursed 10 types of people in relationship to alcohol. 10 categories of people in their role when it comes to alcohol. Number one, the one who presses the grapes or whatever, yeah? Number two, the one who manufactures it. So that's the next stage. Number three, the one who drinks it. Number four, the one who serves it. Number one, the one who will carry it to transport it. Number six, the one who it is sent to. Number seven, the one who sells it. The one who sells alcohol. Number eight, the one who buys the alcohol. Number nine, the one who gives it as a present. And number 10, the one who eats from the business of selling alcohol. All 10 of these categories, the Prophet ﷺ, he has cursed la'na. And you see the off licenses in the Muslims. And you see the restaurants. The name is very nice, clean name. And the alcohol is served. And they say, oh, no, we don't sell it. The people can bring your own bottle. But you play the games with Allah, like the Bani Israel, they played the games on the Yawm al-Sabt. Allah's Rasul cursed 10 categories, and you think that our income is still halal if you give the alcohol. And you ask the shopkeeper, says, my business would not run if I don't sell alcohol. These are the tests of the Iman. Because Allah Ta'ala says, do you think that you would not be tested? In Surah Al-Ankabut. أحسب الناس Anyway, I think I'm getting tired now. Khair. So Allah Ta'ala is saying regarding this, and then you see the next section which we'll finish on now. يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ. In the same ayah, Allah Ta'ala is responding to their question which we listened to previous lesson. يَسْأَلُونَكَ regarding, they ask you about the infaq. What should we spend in the cause of Allah? قُلِ الْعَفْوَ. Spend what is extra, beyond your needs. The context of this is, very briefly, that the Sahaba, when they heard that the infaq fi sabilillah, to spend in the charity for the cause of Allah, for His deen, and different reasons, all for Allah, is rewarded, and the reward can be 700 times or more. What they did, they gave everything. Some of them, they gave everything. Yes. And then now the people who were dependent upon them, they were left with nothing. So the family had nothing now. No food, no drink, no wealth, nothing. So therefore this is not the balance. Yeah. The balance in infaq is in the previous ayah we mentioned last week, that you spend on your walidain wal aqrabin, then yatama wal masakin wa ibn as-sabil. You spend on your needs first. For you to spend on your need is infaq. For you to spend on your own need, you eat, you drink, you clothes, your clothes you wear, the house you buy, the car you buy, if you are living for shahadat al-nas, because you need all these means, yeah? This is all infaq, fi sabilillah. Allahu Akbar. All of it, infaq. But you have to spend on the needs. This is wajib on you, fard. On the household, the head of the household, to spend the money on the people. Kullukum ra'in. And then after that, whatever is left, because this whole family, if it is for Allah, then this is all part of the infaq. You understand, yeah? It's not separate. And then anything afu, anything that you beyond your need, then you spend that in the cause of Allah. Don't deprive your need. Because there is an athar, there is a hadith of the companion which mentions, Inna jasadaka alayka haqqan. Your body has a right on you. Wa zawjika alayka haqqan. Your family has a right on you. Wa zawrika alayka haqqan. Your visitor has a right on you. Wa nafs. Your nafs has a right on you. You see the rights? They're not human rights. They have no concept of what is right. Absolutely, they are completely mistaken. Because they follow the nafs, the desire, in the absence of Allah's guidance. So what should we spend? Spend what should be on. كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمُ الْآيَاتِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَفَكَّرُونَ. This is how Allah Ta'ala, He elaborates, explains, clarifies, makes it very vividly easy for you to understand all of His ayat, so that you can think, and then you will come to the right course of action for your benefit and your betterment. And we will stop there, inshallah.